This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.
They came to destroy the Guns of Navarone. Then Alistair MacLean brought them back in a new smash hit bestseller, Force 10 from Navarone.
All right, out!
A strike force of different, daring, dangerous men who must work together or die.
Stop! Go!
Robert Shaw.
We are going to help the partisans blow up a bridge, and then if we're very lucky, we can all go home.
Harrison Ford.
Close! Yeah.
No bridge in the world that can't be blown. That's what Force 10 was here to prove.
Carl Weathers. Franco Nero. Edward Fox as Miller, a man devoted to dynamite.
Miller, you are an incurable show-off.
Barbara Bach as a spy
Kill them.
anyone could love. And Richard Jaws Keel. From the author of The Guns of Navarone, from the director of Goldfinger and Live and Let Die, in the tradition of the Dirty Dozen.
We're not commanders. We're deserters.
Good story, Major. Very cute.
Force 10 from Navarone.
Well, you might just bend it a little, burn the paint back here and there. But nothing that would have seriously inconvenienced the Jerry's, I'd have thought.
Our experts have been studying that bridge for weeks, and they say it'll blow.
Yes. Well, they're probably experts at building things, whereas I'm an expert at blowing them up. Miller, what would happen to the bridge if that central arch was suddenly hit by several million tons of water?
Water?
But my dear chap, why didn't you say so before? Oh, I did a tremendous job in it, yeah.
A crack team of tempers and temperament. Some were wise guys. All were wise in the ways of war. Robert Shaw. Harrison Ford. Barbara Bach. Edward Fox. Franco Nero. Carl Weathers. Richard Keel.
You did it! You did it!
Force 10 from Navarone.
Remixed, reloaded, re-edited.
Sometimes we get so deep into conversation that we have separate segments worthy of their own place in the sun.
Here is a reshuffled mini episode.
The thing that gets me the most is like when they were going to do, they did the movie that came out. You talking about all these movies. There was a sequel that came out to the Guns of Navarone called Force 10 from Navarone.
I'm so glad you led in that segue. Yeah,
which was directed, I think, by Andrew McLaughlin.
Yes, and so a lot of the same training. Yeah,
a lot of the same training, and it's
it was on AMC and the Military Channel all the time in the 2000s. And when K-19, The Widowmaker, premiered there about 3 years after it had come out on AMC, it was like a Harrison Ford and Charles Bronson marathon most of the time on AMC channel. But I'm sure you guys have heard the story, how it's pretty beloved by action movie fans because Edward Fox is good in it, and a young Carl Weathers is also there. But despite Harrison Ford really being energetic, and there being some other guys who've been in Indiana Jones and Star Wars movies playing the German troops, it is hysterical how this is one of many movies Harrison doesn't like to talk about, saying it should have stayed behind enemy lines.
I can remember them saying they didn't think it was going to do that well. Until,
it was a surprise hit, but
it was a surprise hit.
Compared
and then
to,
I think that's one of Robert Shaw's. I think it's one of his last movies that he did.
Yeah, there you go. Another Jaws connection, another Spielberg connection. But to be fair, I mean, unlike most sequels that came out, 2 decades later, they wisely remastered the original footage from the 60s film.
Yeah.
They show you the dam. They show, they don't do what other movies do where they show the actor and now, hey, here's the other guy playing the same character, look at how convincing he is. No, that's not him, obviously. But
no, wait a minute. It was Robert Shaw Edward Fox, Harrison Ford,
right.
and
I forget
Carl
which
Weathers.
character. Right, and I forget which characters they were playing, but
I know that Edward Fox and Robert Shaw were playing the Niven and Peck characters.
So that's who it was. But
yeah,
either way, you accept them right away. I remember just the many times I've seen it, and it's actually it's just charming because it just goes along so well. It overcomes predictability by still having a lot of involving stuff, and the dam busting is still exciting. It's actually a lot more fun now when you see it in HD and you can see all the models that are being blown away in the final finale. But yeah, I mean, you by having that archive footage and matching it in with them on the boat and talking about their next mission, you get the camaraderie going, and it just goes again to endless missions. So it, unlike any other sequel, which would have been bloated, the sting too much, or just would have spent so much time trying to make you accept the new reality. They just get right into the thick of it. So there's no time wasted, and it's just fun.
Well, the thing I've said about that movie is that when you watch it, there's no big, like, giant army, in this one. It's like very minimalist with the cast. Like when they're trying to get Luscavar, who's Franco Nero's character.
Yes,
they know it's him. But remember,
and Richard Kill. Remember,
what was that?
Richard Kill, Jaws.
Richard Kill's in it, yeah,
as one of the other
Blackie, you're the fight, huh? They think he's part of the partisans, but really they're the Nazis. They're in league with the Nazis. But you find out Barbara Bach's character is actually the one who's undercover, trying to.
That was the fun plot twist, and
yeah,
it's so funny. TV would cut down her scenes because obviously there's some not safe for work stuff in there, but it's just interesting seeing her again, another James Bond girl in one of these movies together, and she actually is pretty surprisingly decent, unlike some of these other people who were married to famous rock stars who you're like, why were they hired again? It's just
going back to the non-PC stuff. I thought they handled the situation with the South African and the leader of that African nation. I thought they handled that very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see a lot of people cracking down on it, but I feel like a lot of them weren't ready to have this conversation. Like, yeah. I thought it was very apparent. I mean, just the way everyone was standing and the way the director staged it, just showing, hey, you need me as much as, even though you don't think you need me. And I think that's why it overall, it's apolitical, in my opinion. It's opening up a dialogue versus, this is my way, and if you don't like it, fuck you. It's not
exactly. And by the end, the South Africans started to adopt the mindset of the president, so that you could kind of tell if there was a shift going on there. And to those who were who might be offended by the language used, I keep it in context. It's the 70s, that the N-word's still being used frequently by just about everybody and their grandmother. I look at that kind of language the same way I looked at the openly gay character from the original Shaft. So over the top that's laughable. But then when you put it into this perspective and you see the evolution from somebody who said, yeah, I killed a lot of these black people and because they were trying to kill me, and then all of a sudden you have that gradual softening because he was faced with somebody who was at his heart noble.
And isn't it wild how the book it's based on, by Daniel Carney, The Thin White Line, that went unpublished, but then when the movie got made, then that was
they published it with the
and
they published it with the title of the movie, actually.
Basically it, but again, I and to Tom's point, you kind of got to also look at it as more of just the greater scope, just showing how again, these are ugly circumstances. At least it's bringing some awareness of some of these third world countries and their various wartime problems. And there's no winner in this. There's death or you escape. At this point, I love how, again, it's not about, if they did this nowadays, they would kind of approach it probably like a heist movie, and nothing against that. I'm just saying, like, a big ass difference here where they're not even thinking about how many pounds they're getting paid. Like, that's already settled in the first 10 minutes,
And if they did it today, they'd probably succeed in their mission.
Yeah, and so it would give you a sense of falseness. It's like, come on, someone had to escape with a scratch. Now, don't get me wrong, if the point is to be unrealistic, then establish that in the first 20 minutes. But
yeah, and early on, the guy who set everything up, who ultimately, spoiler alert, who ultimately turned on these guys, he mentioned something about to Richard Burke's character about your last mission was a utter failure.
Yes. So it gives you another sense of doubt as opposed to they're badasses and nothing can, thwart them.
Yeah. And then when they start, and then when they get to the middle of the movie and everything's going great, everything's finding out to be perfection, then the twist, the double cross, and then they start losing members. So it plays off of that dynamic a lot.
Well,
and
leads into his. Go ahead.
And the more I think about it, the more it's like that adds a level of despair and depth to Burton's character. He was a confident, but then you kind of see, well, maybe I'm not so confident. Maybe he starts having that doubt that creeping back in.
Absolutely. I did see it in college and did feel like, man, that's a sad ending, but it's appropriately bleak without feeling soapy, and it's not again, it's not a glamorous lifestyle, so they didn't portray it as glamorous. They mixed in just some exciting frills with appropriate drama. And kudos to the editor. I had no idea, but I read up on this before prepping, and apparently John Glenn, that's right, one of the assistant second unit directors and editors worked on this. And I knew him only from directing a lot of the Roger Moore and both Timothy Dalton James Bond outings, but so this must have been where they must have met. But I knew that Andrew V. McVagilin previously was also an assistant director for about 10 movies before John Wayne took a liking to him and said, hey, you need to be in the chair. So I just always applaud anyone who does that. Like some of the people who have done, for instance, some of the best X-Files and Star Trek episodes for years would work as cinematographers and editors. I love the guys who wear multiple hats, because it really does mean a lot in the long run on, hey, it's just everything matters, and it doesn't feel like a closed off film set. It feels for the most part like they're in an actual, vacant, base and shooting some desert scenes. I mean, Burton was even in the Desert Rats, for God's sake, so he's used to it.
Well, I mean, it was like a lot of location shooting, though, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, to Tom's point, everything was going fairly well right up until that plane just went off without them.
Yeah.
Went right downhill.
Oh, man.
Especially they lost so many people on that bridge.
Yeah.
On that first one.
And you get a sense that they actually care about their men versus they're just disposable, just random extras or stunt people getting blown out who we don't care about. And that's what today's movies would have done. They would have had the first free, international A-listers, and then everyone else would have been, easily disposable or hard to tell apart.
Well, and
everybody, go ahead.
I was going to say, in Roger Moore's character, I mean, he's one of the top three. And, even he got shot, and I wondered if he was going to bleed out before, they got to their destination.
Bingo. Yeah. That there's you don't know who's losing a limb versus who's going, but just barely,
Yeah, and that was one of the best parts about the movie for me was just you learn to care about these auxiliary characters from the first time you meet them, because you can find somebody that you can identify with. The guys who did it before and were just looking for one last thing of purpose in their lives, and then it became something much larger later on that they had to kind of go back to. Okay, this is what I used to do. I'm about 10, 20 years older now. Can I still hang? And well, by and large, they were. And
I got to tell you, when they were doing the recruitment scenes, and two of those guys says, "I'm 42," and then another guy says, "I'm 43." I says, "Are you kidding me? You guys look like you're 60." But I did look up one of them who said he was like 42 or 43, and he was 48 actually. I said the guy looked like he was 60.
Apparently they had some actual mercs on set, so I'm sure they were giving everyone tips and tricks on how to walk and talk in between. So they thought about doing a remake back years later, and I don't mind the scripter, William Monaghan, who you might know from writing blockbusters like Kingdom of Heaven and The Departed. I'd be okay with that, but I would rather they just take the same source material and not call it the Wild Geese, so they might have a easier chance of not having to be compared to one another.
They didn't make a Wild Geese too.
That's a good transition. So I did see that in college. There was this little known site called RapidShare back in the day. Everyone else was doing Napster. I was doing that in MediaFire. It's watchable, but and here's a connection for you, James. Edward Fox is in it, playing the Richard Burton character. And he has to bust a war criminal played by an out of shape Laurence Olivier out of prison. So I watched it because I loved Scott Glenn to death, American treasure, and just masterful actor. Who doesn't love the guy? But it's gotten some other press release in recent, because Patrick Stewart in the 2010s was like doing a convention and people asked him about what was the worst movie he did, and he listed this one because he plays a diplomat who's inconsequential to the rest of the plot. But it's watchable, but it would make a perfect Mystery Science Theater Riff Tracks type movie too, because there isn't much story. It's junky. But
there is one guy in here that was in a Mystery Science Theater movie. The guy who played Father, I can't even pronounce the name. Frank Finley played the part.
Oh God,
he's in the Deadly Bees.
There's a lot of blacklisted actors in the original Wild Geese, but yeah, and Wild Geese 2, like they just like were filming in parts of like Italy. They made it be more of a spy movie, and it's just like, why didn't you just call it like, I don't know, the B Team, the C Team? Because
you was an umlaut team.
The guy Hardy Kruger, I could swear I saw him in something before, but I couldn't place it. My wife actually says, I think he's in Hatari. The guy who played Lieutenant Peter Coetzee.
Really?
Yeah, I think he was in Hatari.
You're right. I see it. Yep. Okay, so Kurt Miller, boom. Wow.
Yeah, and I noticed somebody else too. The medic went on, or was actually in a episode or two of The Prisoner.
Yes, Kenneth. What's his name? Shit,
Kenneth
I know
Griffith.
his name.
Okay, wow.
Kenneth Griffith. Yeah, he played the judge in he was in The Girl Who Was Death, which is the second to the third to final episode, and then he played the judge in what was it? The last two, like the last episode. Here's something funny though. When they were going to do Wild Geese 2, Burton signed on to do it.
Yeah, I saw that they pretty much had to figure out the rest of the cast, but Moore and Burton were always like the first ones up.
Moore dropped out. Moore was like, I don't want to do it. Burton was going to do it, and what happened was about a couple days before they started filming, he died. He had a cerebral hemorrhage.
Oh,
and they said he looked great. They said he was in great shape and everything. Now, when you were talking about the guys who say, can they still hack it? If you watch the Seawolves,
Yeah.
Which is McLaughlin's, I think, genuine idea of what he wanted to do with,
another more collaboration.
He brings back Niven and Gregory Peck,
right?
And
so
Trevor
the
Howard
reunion,
and he's got he's got Patrick McNee in there and Graham Stark. He's got all these old school British actors who either were in a war movie or and it's fun to watch. I think that's it's one of those movies I loved watching as a kid. This little ramshackle boat takes on a Nazi
Have
ship.
you ever done a marathon with that in Folks, which other people know as North Sea Hijack?
Yes. And I'll say this about Folks. I think we said this with the James. I think when we were talking about James Bond or something like that.
Yeah.
Folks is the anti James Bond role for Roger Moore.
This is Bond if he was a douche and shameless of it. Like, he's going around, he's seducing people and then just killing them without hesitation.
He doesn't like women. He cares more about his. He cares more
it's a
about
good
his
role
cats.
for Anthony Perkins, and I realize that this is during the lesser time of his career where he was getting picky about his roles.
Michael Parks is in it.
Yeah, of all people. Yeah.
You got James Mason, David Hediston, James Mason comes in. We need to save these three oil rigs. If we don't, the North Sea will be on fire. I'm asking for about $1 million. And I love in the beginning how he just fucking he's like you old, he's like timing them all. He's like you were 1 second too slow. I want to have precision on this team.
He's doing his best Hans Gruber impression before that was a thing.
No, I'm talking more. Moore's just like he's got the beard, he's got the hat, he lives in the castle and everything. This is not him being James Bond. This is him being, tough ass. I don't give a shit.
Whatever gets it done. He's basically doing
whatever
his best Connery impression.
gets it done.
Yeah.
And I mean that's the great thing about it. Now. If you watch A Bridge Too Far,
perfect movie. Great movie. Bleak movie, but again, much like Wild Geese, like we did we used to do a lot of war movie things, and I would watch that often back to back with The Longest Day.
Oh yeah.
And both feature key roles for Sean Connery, but I just love how, again, it's not about the bloodshed, it's about how, just the waiting game is like, we're going to be ambushed any minute, we're waiting on the supplies, fuck, there goes our supplies, and now, what do we do now? And just all the actors making key appearances, Ben Cross, Robert Redford, but then coming in and just they're characters that are transitioning to the third act. I love that, as opposed to, look at me, here's famous person on screen for 20 minutes. It's like, no, I'm getting your attention because I'm saying something very important.
Well, I mean, you talk about Kelly's Heroes too.
Yeah,
that's a great movie to watch.
It was an inspiration for other modern movies like Three Kings, believe it or not.
Yeah,
and kind of funny to see. I was gonna say it's kind of funny to see. What's his name? 24's dad. 24's.
Oh, Donald Sutherland, yeah.
Donald Sutherland, yeah.
Woof, woof. And that's why I loved it so much.
You gotta have positive vibes.
Vibes. A 60s hippie in the 40s as the tank commander. It's just like, man, it was, and I love how he and remember when they do a send up of Eastwood's Man with No Name at the very end, they do those shots when they're having a face off with the tanks. It's like, see, that was cute. That was fun. If anyone else did that nowadays, it would just be a very lame homage. It's like, see what we did there? We made fun of their famous role.
Well, the thing I love about that is, who do you have in that movie that's really good? I'm like, you've got Len Lesser playing a general. Carol O'Connor, Len Lesser. You've got Don Rickles.
Yes.
Harry Dean Stanton.
I forgot he was in that. Oh, that's right.
Whatchamacallit, the guy who played Angel in freaking The Rockford Files. Stuart Margolin. You have a really good cast in that movie, and you don't have some patriotic song. You got like a rock band doing a theme to that song for that movie.
It was a cool theme, yeah.
You know, and then I love how like you got you got you got Donald Sutherland, and then you got and he's
Telly
coming. I think he's
Savalas
coming.
once again.
Telly Savalas
As
in
the
that
commander.
movie.
He's like, you guys
You
get
got
back here.
Gavin McLeod. Gavin
Yes.
McLeod. You
Oh,
know,
man.
I mean, it's just a good movie to watch. That was one of those movies you'd watch if it was on a Sunday afternoon, and you'd watch it. You'd stop everything. And then, does anybody remember a movie called Escape from Athena?
Heard of it.
Yes, there we go. Lee Marvin and Roger Moore. Yes, and
No, that was Raj. Was that Lee Marvin in that? No.
okay, well then I get it. I've seen them both, but okay.
Wait, let me look.
Shout at the Devil is what I'm thinking of. But yes, I've seen Athena.
Shout at the Devil.
I've seen Athena because it's on. Again, it was on show. It's always on Showtime for whatever reason, and it is some very cool escape sequences once it gets going.
You've got Sonny Bono, David Niven, Richard Roundtree.
So why was Niven cast in so many of this? Was it all the way back to Navarone, or was it just?
Yeah, and also he was a name. He was a name back then,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But you got Claudia Cardinale, who's in that movie. I'm trying to think who else.
Some very key characters.
Roger Moore, Elliot Gould, Stephanie Powers.
That was a good one.
I'm trying to think who else was in that. Stephanie Powers. William Holden. Holy shit.
Yeah. The closest I can think of that came out very recently, there was a 2018 Netflix movie called Triple Frontier.
I never saw that.
So that has the Mandalorian himself, Pedro Pascal, Ben Affleck, Oscar Isaac, and a bunch of guys, and just being these Delta Force guys who decide to rob a South American crime lord.
Oh.
There was also one on Netflix called Six Underground with Ryan Reynolds that kind of had that same vibe.
Michael Bay, yeah.
I will also throw in a couple more. You mentioned Sean Connery. He was also in another kind of man on a mission movie called LXG, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
People hate on it, but I love how the beginning they are referencing his early Bond roles where he's going after an assassin. He's too late. The assassin, eats his cyanide pill, and then he shoots another guy.
But
he hated making it, but it doesn't show.
Yeah,
Kudos to the editor. And it looks. Had I not known that info, I would have sworn he was having a blast of a time, and I would have watched 5 more of those movies.
That was his last movie, wasn't it?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
He did some ads and commercials, but he retired.
He did a cartoon movie.
I've already played like a lion or something.
No, he played an old man inventor.
Oh, wow.
And then, but this movie, he basically just ripped the director a new one because he said the guy didn't know how to direct anybody.
It's such a shame because Steve Norrington, he brought his blade. He was an editor and effects guy on stuff like the Alien movies. Yeah,
it was based on a comic book.
It's very different from the comic.
Alan Moore,
but
and
to everyone's point, it's a fun Universal monster movie kind of tribute in a way too.
It is.
Well, Captain Nemo.
Yeah, all these legends, all these myths from all the popular pulp novels.
Yep.
Yeah, and Mina Harker from Dracula. That Dorian Gray.
Yep, the original
Invisible Man, Mr. Hyde, rather,
and they threw in Tom Sawyer for the movie.
Tom Sawyer,
yeah, they did.
And see, I thought that was fun, and then they had Nikita playing the one gal.
Mina Harker.
Yep.
There's also another movie that came out after that has all the same elements of the Wild Geese and LXG. The Losers.
Yes, DC Vertigo adaptation. Yep.
Another one
based on a comic book, but the twist, but the betrayal comes in early, rather than right in the middle of the movie. But it helps staff everything else. But
one of Joel Silver's
those are the only two
produced.
that those are only a few of the more recent ones that have taken that kind of formula and really kind of made their own, but also paid homage to the movies that came before it.
Absolutely.
You guys know that McLaughlin made Mitchell, but he also made one of the best.
Mitchell.
One of the what? No. He also made. He also made.
I couldn't resist.
He also made a movie, which to this day I don't think anybody's seen it except me, called "Stowaway to the Moon," where a kid basically, it's an Apollo flight, and a kid hides out in the Apollo capsule in the trash receptacle.
Lloyd Bridges.
Lloyd Bridges is in it, right? So I'm watching it.
It looks like this is the wrong week for me to stop snorting Tang.
Yeah, it's coming right at us. So like I'm sitting there and I'm like watching it. I'm like thinking to myself, okay, I found out that's the second space movie Lloyd Bridges did after Rocket Ship XM.
Yes,
because what
happened
happened was
I'll share the YouTube link in the Facebook group.
Yeah, it's a great movie to watch, and he did that movie. It was about a kid who basically was into the space program. He builds a mock-up of an Apollo command module.
The kid genius trope.
Yeah, father just is like thinking, oh, it's just waste of time or like that. So what happens is, in order to get he just basically says, I'm going to hide out in the actual capsule. So what happens is that the three guys go on there. He hides in the freaking capsule. They're wondering why they're 87 pounds heavier, and they don't mind about it. They go up to the moon. They find him in the thing. Basically, he saves the day because what happens is that the guy who's in the command module gets sick. All right, and then when the astronauts they can't see the astronauts from where they are because the lunar module landed off course.
Of course.
So what happens is that he looks down and he's like, "Oh wait, there's the command module right there." And they're like, "Okay, fly over and get him going." It's like, Jesus God, this kid's knows more about the space program than anything else.
Don't quit your day job, guys. Oh man, good old McVagilant. Yeah, he's got a lot of trophies. He's got a lot of hits.
Was it McLaughlin? It's McLaughlin. It's McLaughlin. It's Andrew McLaughlin.
Let's just call him Andrew. Let's just call him Andrew V.
Yeah. I'll say this. If any of you guys want to see a good man on a mission movie, there's a movie Gene Hackman did called Uncommon Valor.
Great.
I'm familiar with that one. In fact, I've seen it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was on HD all the time. Patrick Swayze trains everybody. Yep.
No. That's
Uncommon Valor.
Uncommon Valor? No, that was Red Brown is in that.
Yeah, but so is Patrick Swayze.
I don't remember Patrick Swayze being in that movie.
Gene Hackman. Yep.
Let me look.
I've seen it.
I'm trying to remember. Was Patrick Swayze?
Yeah, he's the guy who trains all the troops. And yeah, Reb and Fred Ward are the various soldiers. Yeah. And our buddy
I watched that. I was like, shit. Do I remember that movie?
And even Michael Dudikoff. Oh, so there you go.
Yes, he is.
The canon.
He is in it. Okay. Patrick Swayze, Fred Ward, Robert Stack, Reb Brown, Harold Sylvester. Holy shit. Randall Tex Cobb, Tim Thomas. Oh shit, they really got everybody out for
a lot of
the Iron Eagle crew, I call it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Another one that actually links us to Wild Geese. Have any of you seen one of the mini movies Roger Corman directed called The Secret Invasion?
No.
So Stuart Granger, who plays the minister in this, in Wild Geese, plays the leader of this, and it's pretty much a Dirty Dozen kind of movie. But I love what I love about this is what I love about most Roger Corman movies: just the shoot fast approach, the scoping camera angles, and Henry Silva gets to play one of the group leaders, and it's just again very very engaging, and much like Dam Busters and Navarone, it has the whole claustrophobia of just getting into a cave and trying to free an Italian general from Germany. But once again, just I like the whole just criminal turned, soldiers, sent out.
Oh God, yes, I do remember this.
It comes on MGM HD once in a blue moon, but looking at the HD remaster, I can only imagine seeing it in a theater, but kudos to whoever remastered it. I see way more detail than you would see in the regular Technicolor. It's just, it's a really engaging and just really delightful movie. I put it on your Friday night list as opposed to your Sunday 2 a.m. B movie list. It's really fun.
Mickey Rooney must have needed the money.
Mickey Rooney needed the money.
Because Mickey Rooney was
It was after his 43rd divorce, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know what number wife he was on, but I mean, the thing I love about it is you've got what Stuart Granger, Henry Silva, Mia Massini, Ed Kooky Burns, and William Campbell, which really is a out of left field.
Do you think they had some of the same casting directors? Like, who's that one guy? That one sitcom? Get him over here.
No, I think every time, I think with this they kind of went down a little bit on the casting ways and say, okay, Stuart Granger, yeah, okay.
Who needs the money?
Ed Burns, okay. Henry Silva, yeah. Mickey Rooney, what wife number is he on?
How many wives did Mickey Rooney?
How many of Mickey Rooney's wives take to change a light bulb?
I know he appeared. I get this. I go on Google and it instantly links me to Wikipedia. He appeared in over 300 movies. That's not what I asked. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Holy fuck! So he has 9 children and 8 wives.
No, you know the joke, right? You know how many of Mickey Rooney's wives it take to change a light bulb?
I was just gonna make another joke. What's the answer?
0. They're all still waiting for their alimony checks to show up.
Hey-oh!
Oh, they're waiting for the checks to clear. They're waiting for the
checks to clear.
And by checks I mean just damages in payment to his appearance in Breakfast at Tiffany's.
One of them, I think, got killed. I think, from what I remember, she was shot or some shit like that.
Was it by Robert Blake?
No.
I couldn't resist. I'm such an asshole. Oh, thank God he's not in any of these movies. Then that would just ruin it.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just thinking of something. That's all. I'm thinking of something. That's all. Go ahead.
No, I'm just. This is making all this talk about these men on mission movies is making me really want to see that Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
I hope it's
fun.
And in fact, I'm going to see it Saturday.
There you go.
It's got Carrie Elwes, Henry Cavill, the guy who was in Inglourious Bastards, Till
the guy
Schweiger.
who plays Jack Reacher in that.
Yeah, Alan Richardson. Yeah, Richardson. Yeah,
I like him. How he has opened up on mental health while preaching to other people on how you gotta be fit not just for you but also just to market your looks and everything and your acting.
Well, that guy's a freaking tank.
He really is, but I like how he's the gentle giant as opposed to he's only gonna get Cavill or Keanu Reeves type roles, and he's only as good.
And he got first crack at Aquaman with Smallville.
That's right.
I didn't know he played him on that. I knew he was on Titans, and I saw most of that. But
he played the Hawk in Titans, I think.
That's who it was, yeah. And when he was announced, I was like, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with the B level TV guy, and then that'll lead to other movie projects. There's room for everyone now. I'm so spoiled we don't realize how good we got it. You can find a movie anywhere now. You don't have to go to just a store to buy it. You can get it on the internet. You can get it at a festival. You can get so many other options, and it doesn't have to be just this or that. There's 5 different options now.
It's a more accessible world nowadays.
But options be damned. Everyone's always trying to say, "No, it's got to be one or the other." I'm like, how about no?
No, I got to the point with my movie collecting that the DVDs were taking up too much space, so I had to switch to digital.
That's fine. I see so many other people who will only get it if it's physical or only get it if it's streaming. I'm like, just you choose.
We'll return after these messages.
Hey, it's Brent Pope, the host of Breakfast with Brent Pope. You've seen me on some of your favorite TV shows saying things like, "Give it up, Jimmy. You got to sink this putt to win." On Breakfast with Brent Pope, I sit down with guests from the entertainment world, and we do it all over breakfast. Or should I say Brentfast? Every week on Brentfast, you get inside Hollywood info and tips, great breakfast recs and booty debates. Most of all, you get the most delightful 30 minutes of your week. So dig in. It's Brentfast time. Listen at Brentfast.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever fine podcasts are found.
Welcome to the Better Call Daddy Show, the #1 podcast where we admit, no matter what happens, Daddy has the advice we need to fix our problems. Introducing my dad, Mr. Wayne Friedman.
That was good. It would be nice if you could also sing a song.
What would the song be?
You love Paris in the springtime. I just made up some words to it.
I love Rena in the springtime. I love Rena in the fall.
That's right. That's good enough.
What I do is interview people of interest, share it with my dad, and get my dad's advice. My dad is my hero. Nobody's got my daddy.
Oh boy, let's go to Grandpa.
If you like to be a little rebel, I tried to rein you in. I have a daughter named Rena that acts just like I did. She's got a son that is not only just like me, but it's just like her.
I'm your host, Rena Friedman Watts. Invite your friends, subscribe, and I'm excited to take this journey with you. Let's dive in.
She was teasing this guy with this sword, and she accidentally cut his dick.
Oh my God, I'm dying.
And then he started to enjoy it.
I started going down the phone sex rabbit hole. You've got the wankers, and you jerk off in 5 seconds, and then they're done because A, they don't want to spend money, and B, they're quick.
My stepfather had mania. If I'm yelling at one of my kids, that fear, that rigid fear.
Mom even said to me, I hope you have a kid just like you.
There are lots of people that are being bought and sold right now for profit.
If you think you're going to kill yourself, shut up and kill yourself. If you're not going to kill yourself, then shut up, smarten up, and it's all on you. The bullshit has to end.
Wow.
When I was 11 years old, I was raped and molested over the course of a year.
What Jeffrey Epstein had was a sickness inside of him.
I am Evan Castrilli Carmichael. I could do anything that I believe that I can.
I'm so excited too. Let's go.
Next on Better Call Daddy with my mom and my grandpa.
Stay tuned.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up